Welcome to the MSP Masterclass Contracts 101. We've deemed this as what every MSP needs to know as far as it comes to contracts. So thank you so much for joining us. A little bit of housekeeping. If you do want to ask a question along the way, please just come off mute and ask a question. Or we've got Joanna Rowe here from our team, and you can put the question into the chat, and Joe will either ask it at the time or we'll have some Q&A at the end. So without further ado, we'll get underway. Thanks so much for joining. So a little bit about me. We're going to keep this real brief. Been in the game for the MSP game, that is, for near on 30 years now. Have been involved in ZenContract more recently, built up an MSP from scratch through to 50 plus people called Base 2 and sold that on to the New Zealand government. And I've been on advisory boards for Datto and Dropbox, as well as Cisco and a few others along the way. And during that whole time, certainly in the MSPs I've been involved with, contracts have been a particular focus of mine, either whether I've been head of sales or running as the MSP as a CEO, contracts always come up. We now have hundreds of MSPs using ZenContract and have been across all of their legals in their contracts, so we've got a little bit of knowledge about it along the way. So today's agenda, we're going to understand why there's some chaos around contracts, what the essentials are that you need to be putting into those contracts and why they're so important. What's the trap? Why are people not getting into the latest ways of managing their contracts, and then moving forward to what the fix is. We're going to have a look at beyond contracts when it comes to policies and compliance and recurring value. And then the next steps if you want to understand some more around this. Contracts always feel a bit overwhelming because they are lots and lots of legal words, typically that are stuck in Word documents. They get negotiated in contracts and email threads. Typically, we lose those renewal dates and calendars and things, and we kind of miss those renewals coming back. And then eventually people are trying to do lots of manual workarounds and come up with last minute fixes. And essentially, contracts don't particularly come down to one person's job. It's tied, until you're a much larger MSP, it's usually spread across 3 or 4 people. And sometimes when things go wrong, you don't know where to go and look for those contracts and find out the answers, as they're not referenceable. So that trap is we tend to go about doing each contract in a bespoke fashion. We're really not taking care of templatization, so we're writing them from scratch. There's no central repository, so we're allowing human error to get involved and cut and pasting from old Word documents and things, and there's no version control. We're not sure about what's been negotiated each time. This all leads to the contract chaos. So we need to find a way of centralizing these things, making sure we're using some sort of template. We're reducing human error. We understand the start date and the end date and have a system for around managing those renewals and understanding if there's a version control. So if we've negotiated something that's slightly different than our normal, how are we managing that and understanding to pass that information on to the rest of our team? That's the trap that most MSPs, and still with all of the MSPs that we speak to along the way, there's a lot of these aspects are still highly involved in the current contract process. A contract needs to cover these essential things, right? There needs to be a clear scope of work, obviously what the pricing and payment terms are, what happens if we want to terminate the contract, who is responsible for what. This is pretty important, is what's in and what's out in MSP terms. It's something that's very, very much a grey area for a lot of the MSPs that we deal with, any service business for that matter, but necessarily is quite concentrated into the MSP industry around what is in of our fixed price plan and what is out of our fixed price plan. So understanding renewals and making sure that we have a system in place that either auto renews or it triggers a discussion prior to the actual expiring of that contract. That needs to be deemed into the actual contract. And clearly, we need to have an easy mechanism in this digital world that we are in today around getting a client signature involved. So I'll just pause there for a second. And you want to come off mute. Is there any questions at this stage?
No, not at this stage.
Cool. So what's the fix? We need a repeatable workflow that you can really lean on and be comfortable that you trust it implicitly. We want to make sure that we standardize our contracts and put them into a templatized system. We want to centralize everything into a singular place and make sure that there is well known inside of your business that there is one place to go and do contracts. We want to move away from the fact where everyone's just grabbing an old Word document and cutting and pasting and changing, because we don't know whether the bundles that we're selling or whether the actual SLAs that we're putting forward are the current ones, because they do change over time. We want to make sure that we are tracking key dates and making sure that we are fully aware and vested into the fact that there is a trigger for the renewal that's coming up, whether we're doing an open-ended contract that has a discussion around renewing the commitment, or we are doing a 12 or 24 or 36-month contract. Each of those is going to expire over time because everything moves forward. We want to make sure that we are understanding around what those renewal triggers are. And we want a repeatable, this says rhythm around a business process. Good business is around repeatable business, a repeatable process rather. We want to make sure that we have a process that is scalable. It eliminates all the human error. It is able to be repeated again and again and again and again. So ways to deal with contracts and actually deal with your MRR. So if we can go beyond contracts, you can actually start to monetize your policies that you are putting into your end customers. So there is other ways that you can start to create recurring revenue here. And with Zen Policy, which is part of ZenContract, you can actually do that by managing your end customers' policies around cybersecurity, remote work policy, work from home policy, all of those types of things is another way that you can look at creating recurring revenue. So if you would like to discuss how these types of things can be created inside a centralized system, then you can do these three things that are on screen. So you can download our free Contract 101 guide, which goes into more detail about what needs to be involved in each particular contract. There is three main types of contracts. There is a master services agreement. This is all very much outlined in this e-guide that you can see on your left there. In the master services agreement, we're dealing with things like limitation of liability, what happens if the contract is terminated, who's responsible for billing and payments, what is the definition of your service level agreement, and everything that is to do with the legal side of your foundational interaction with each other, but it has no pricing and no term. Then you've got your managed services agreement, which is around what managed services we're supplying to you. This is how you're going to pay us, and any special terms and conditions which are outside of the norm of your master services agreement. And then you've got some operational sub-agreements, which are all referenced back to the MSA for all your legals, but these are standard SOWs or scopes of work around providing advanced security services or network services or internet connections, and you would have an agreement for each of those. So definitely scan there and download that free Contract 101 guide. If you would like to receive that or have a further discussion, then definitely email greg@zencontract.com and we can set up a conversation to go through that in more detail. Step 2 is to clean up in one agreement this week to actually move forward on this. By booking in a meeting with us, then we're going to supply you with one of those free templates. Whether it's an operational SOW, we can certainly have a discussion around your managed services agreement. And as part of booking in a no pressure chat with us, by scanning that code that is on screen, which I will just move that, you can easily go to our booking page and set up and have a discussion with us. By attending this, we do have some discounts in there and some additional free one-on-one strategy consultations. And so for that Zen Ultimate package or the other packages as well, then we can actually get you a 20% discount on your ongoing monthly costs, and some of the onboarding costs and risk templates as well. We can definitely get those to you at a discounted rate. All of the interactions are 100% risk-free. So if there's no immediate requirement to start handing over any cash, we can have that discussion and have a look at exactly what your 100% money back guarantee is should you want to engage that. There is different types of plans depending on the different size of MSP you are, whether you're a Zen or a Zen Master or Zen Ultimate. Those are the different user states that you have. All of those are unlimited contracts and unlimited templates, but we've got some great different packages and size that are going to fit the MSP and the age and stage and maturity that you are at. It's not necessarily going to be huge amounts of dollars. Then also what you'll find is that the return on investment is quite significant. As soon as you get started with one template and get going, you start to free up some time, and then in the next time, and you're also getting a very scalable and repeatable business process out the back that allows you to take more and more of your services to market. So without further ado, I'll come off presentation mode and we can just open the floor for any questions. And boom, there we go.
So we've got one from Gustavo. Apologies if I'm pronouncing that wrong. Are your contract templates country specific?
So we have templates that cover off the legals for UK, Ireland. There is ones for Canada, USA, Australia, New Zealand, and about 4 or 5 other countries. If you let me know exactly what country it is and something that you would like to engage with, we would change it for the geography there. We do have in-house legal services. So we have Shelby Samantha Hager, who is a very highly qualified lawyer who works on MSP agreements day in and day out for all of our various MSP businesses around the world, of which there's quite a few, and I'm sure that we can tailor it to your geography. So what we can look at doing is following up with each of you with an email to see if there's particular points that you would like to cover, and see if there's some follow-on discussions that we can have with you around your particular contracts and the way that you're handling them currently. Certainly the biggest use case that we see with our MSPs that are looking to solve the pain point is centralizing the contracts, getting them into a template, understanding that there are some benefits with a repeatable process, and making sure that they are then getting all of the automations that can go with a contract lifecycle. So our system's highly plugged into your PSA. As soon as you get a signature and get a contract signed, if you tell it to, it can build automatically the contract into Autotask or ConnectWise. It has then obviously the ability to have a centralized area to manage all of your renewals. There's some automation around managing renewals, and you end up freeing up a considerable amount of time. There's an ROI calculation that we've done many times, that people are seeing a 3-to-1 return on the investment that they're putting on a monthly basis with using this system to manage their contracts, with all of the free time that they are getting back, let alone the accuracy that they're getting with their contracts and the manageability of managing the renewals, even as far as doing a bulk send out to all of your customers to update your MSA. You don't have to do that one at a time anymore. This is the system's got the ability to be able to send out your MSA to all of your customers at once, and the system manages the seeing and the signing and the storing all of your contracts, as well as it's very easy to go and be referenceable and go back, find those contracts when you need them. Having been an MSP owner, that's certainly something that I've found time and time again. When you want to go and find the contract to have a look at it, it's usually not stored where it's supposed to be, whether that's physical or digital. Well, look, thank you very much for joining. I'm going to follow up with each of you just to gain some feedback as to what your thoughts are, and whether the system can help you, or whether there's more information that we can supply to you, because I am aware that you didn't necessarily just join this webinar to find out about ZenContract, more around contract management as in total. So we're going to also follow up with a document that actually outlines exactly what each of those documents should entail. We've got a sort of a 101 guide on through our Zen legal framework as to what should be involved in which document, and we'll send a copy of that out to you. And all you have to do for that is just email me at greg@zencontract.com, and we'll email that back to you. But unless there's any more questions, thank you so much for joining, and we'll look forward to interacting with you very shortly.